Hello, this is Faith Mackey interviewing Raul Jenkins I about his experiences during segregation in the 60s and 70s. Mr. Jenkins, first question, how was segregation time relevant in your life?
Well, a lot of places, restaurants, and events I could not attend because they were deemed white only. And a lot of things that I wanted to do with my friends, I couldn't do because my parents wouldn't let me. They didn't want me to have to see things that I didn't want to see or do things that I didn't want to do, and they wanted to make sure that I was safe the whole time. So when I did want to go certain places, I had to watch my back.
Did your friends feel the same way about that you did and your parents?
Some of the kids' parents didn't watch out for them as much as my parents watched out for me because they were either busy or they were sickly.
Number 2, if you could describe this time period in one word, what would it be and why?
Scary. Because you never know when you leave your house what type of harassment, racist comments, or belittlement you're going to receive. And this was also going on during the nonviolent movement, so retaliation was not an option because Martin Luther King was trying to make a movement towards peace, and most people wouldn't retaliate even if they really, really wanted to.
So would you think that that's how everybody pretty much felt at that time that you were around in your community?
Most people did feel that way, but some people actually did retaliate, and those were the people that actually received most of the tormenting because the more that you...
They try to stand up for themselves?
Yes, the more that you try to stand up for yourself, they actually picked on you more.
Okay, question number 3. Did your parent try to protect you in some way from the rest of the world when you were younger?
Yeah. Actually, they would make sure that I stayed home, and anywhere that I needed to go, it was limited, and they would provide me with transportation there because they didn't want me to go around any situations that were deemed toxic and that could put me in harm's way or in any type of danger.
So, do you mean like your parents knew what was going on at the time, obviously, so when you say they tried to give you other types of transportation, do you mean like they tried to drive you places?
They would drive me places, or they would make sure that I was there with a trusted adult.
Like somebody that would keep you safe?
Yes, a trusted family friend.
Question number 4. Did you attend an integrated school? If you did, how were your experiences there? If you didn't, what was it like at your school?
Actually, I did. I integrated in 1970. I was bused to a white school. And from my perspective, it wasn't difficult for me, but for others it was because they didn't have thick skin and things got to them, and some didn't even finish school because they got into too much trouble. And you have to think about the difference from going to an all-black school to an all-white school, the difference from being able to walk to school a fourth of a mile or being bused 10 miles. You have to get up early and do other things.
Was the bus that you were on to school integrated as well?
It wasn't as integrated because we, again, had our own separate neighborhoods. They would pick us up from our neighborhood and bus us to the other neighborhood. So if you were to have a couple, they would get on halfway there to the school, and it wasn't as many as the African-American race.
Okay, question number 5. Did the problems in the world at the time come into your home life with your family, or were you at peace then? So basically this is saying like I know you felt scared, you said, in the rest of the world, but like during your home life, did you actually feel safe with your family?
Yes, we were at peace, but we discussed making sure that we weren't going where we weren't supposed to go or seeing what we weren't supposed to see. My parents took very good care of me.
So, did you have any siblings?
2 little brothers, one named Byron and one named Lawan, and I have an older sister named Alvira.
Did they feel the same way you did at the time with what was going on?
Yes, we all pretty much had similar opinions because they were passed down from our parents to us.
Did they go to school with you?
Um, mm, no. My little brother went to a school across town because they thought that he needed a different type of education than I did because he didn't have as thick a skin as I did.
Okay, question number 6. Have you ever felt ashamed of your appearance compared to Caucasians because of what was going on? Why or why not?
Never, because my mother was a nurse and my father was a chef cook and a World War II combat veteran, so I was never ashamed of my appearance because I knew that if my parents could do great things, so could I, and they were also African American.
And did they tell you things at the time that would make you feel like you weren't inferior to anybody else?
They would always try their best to push me up and show me that I can be something and I will be something and I can grow up to become something because they did really well in their lifetime. They raised 4 wonderful children and I knew that I could do the same thing.
So were you inspired by them?
Yes, I was greatly inspired. My dad was my inspiration to do great things. He was my inspiration to go into the Army. I met my wife Karen and I had 5 wonderful children.
Okay, question number 7. What was the worst experience you can remember in the 60s or 70s, and why do you think that it happened?
The Martin Luther King assassination. I think because the facts pointed to J. Edgar Hoover. He was the leader of the CIA at the time, and he had Martin Luther King labeled as a communist. He had Martin Luther King followed. He had Martin Luther King. He actually had Martin Luther King assassinated, and his views, in fact, they affected a lot of things. They affected the views of the CIA, and they affected the life of Martin Luther King.
So do you think a lot of people lost hope of integration and making the world better after he was assassinated?
Absolutely not. Martin Luther King put a vision in people's minds that anybody could do what he did. Anybody could become that leader, and we didn't just need him to do those things.
So you think that his spirit carried on even after he was assassinated?
Definitely, 100%. Everybody believed Martin Luther King, and everybody believed that he was there for us, and even when he was gone, he was there for us.
And to carry on to that question, number 8, after Martin Luther King Jr. Died, did the racism problem improve immediately or did it take a while?
It was actually very gradual. Not all Caucasians hated him because you have a lot of fair-minded people that marched with him, that worked with him, that rose with him. You just had a couple of terrorist organizations that tried to spew venom on him, that tried to bring him down. An example, the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, or the Aryan Brothers Association.
So there were some white people that actually supported his movement?
A lot. Actually, the majority of the white people, or where I was from, Jacksonville, Florida, supported the white people, supported Martin Luther King because he was a great leader, and they were raised better than to do that.
So that's interesting because it makes it seem like in the stories told today, in the books and everything, that there were no white people that followed him, that it was only black people. But did you ever feel inspired to do something that he might have done in his life by the legacy that he lived?
Yes, I was greatly inspired by him. He was my second inspiration growing up because if he could change the world so much and to do these things, to get the African American race out of this slump, one man, then what can I do?
And I think it's very impressive as well that he did everything he did with peace and no violence. Would you agree?
Yes, that's why I admired him because I don't think any man is strong enough then to create a movement and not use violence.
What was your favorite experience with all the bad things happening in this time?
My favorite experience would have to be going to Miami on vacation with my family. We had a lot of fun there, and it was easy to escape the hassle, the world at the time, because Miami was a nice place to go if you were an African American. You could go down there, you didn't have to deal with segregation, you could have a great time, you could go anywhere you wanted, you could pull out on the beach, you could go to any bar that you wanted. and it was fantastic. It was easy for me to go down there.
So was that like kind of like a safe haven?
Yes, it was my safe haven at the time.
Okay, thank you for this interview.
You're welcome.